Hello and welcome to the LCK All-Pro Summer 2023 video where we're going to go over my LCK All-Pro teams 3rd through 1st as well as my MVP. Reminder, this is 100% stats based. I separate stats in my opinion. I feel like when it comes to All-Pro voting, the only people that should be involved are players, coaches, GMs. It should not be fans or casters, which upset some people because then, you know, most people that watch this are fans. So they're like, oh my God, you're saying my opinion isn't valid. I just think when push comes to shove, a pro has a better determination of who's looking good and who's not, and maybe who's like those things behind the scenes that we don't know about. They know more about it than somebody that just watches some games. Not to mention, I feel like a lot of people are watching the big marquee matchups, but Nongshim versus KDF, maybe you're not watching that, and therefore, how can you really judge those players if you're not going to give them the same respect as T1, KT, Genji, and the like? I think that if you're already in your mind thinking those teams aren't worth watching, then you're already viewing those players as not good, regardless of what the stats may say. So we use stats here for this. There are going to be some surprises on these boards, which ends up happening with stats. Last year, my LCK summer board had Zeka as one of the best mid laners. It caught a lot of flack. That seemed to work out at Worlds, though, so, that's the deal. We'll start with 3rd, go to 1st. 3rd team top laner, Keen. I'm going to say this. I think Keen is the best top laner in the world right now. I'm going to say that. Well, how can you have him 3rd? Like I said, this is 100% stats based. I'm not going to let my opinion dictate what this board says necessarily. Facilitators don't really benefit from stats, and that's why, that is what it is. He was 1st in KDA amongst top laners, 6.4. 3rd in CS per minute at 8.8. 2nd in gold per minute at 418. CS obviously leading to gold. That's no shock. 3rd in KP at 57.6. 3rd in CS difference at 15 minutes, only up 3. Very tight at 15 minutes amongst the top laners. 1st in XP diff at 205. So those are the stats he excelled in the top lane role. These stats are relative to the team. Some are relative. They're all relative to the role, but then we have relative to the team, relative to the region, when we do this. 3rd team jungler, Owner. So Owner was 1st in KP at 77.1 amongst junglers. 1st in damage share at 15.6. So no other jungler dealt more damage relative to their team than Owner. And he was 1st in DPM at 333. So nobody actually did deal more damage per minute in the jungle. And then he had more solo kills at 4, which, that is what it is. That is... junglers don't get a lot of solo kills, but, if I'm going to include it for other roles, I have to include it for everybody. A surprise here, 3rd team Closer in mid lane. Now, Closer had some pop-off moments. He was 1st in CS per minute at 9.7. Nobody had a better CS than him in the mid lane. 3rd in gold per minute at 420. 1st in damage share at 29.7%. So nobody dealt more damage relative to their team than Closer did in the mid lane. 3rd in gold diff at 15 minutes, 129. 2nd in CS diff, 6. And then 2nd in XP diff, 163. So in laning, he was the 2nd best mid laner in the first 15 minutes in the early game. This is not the first time he's appeared on one of my boards due to this. Last summer, actually, when Zeka was on the board, Closer was as well. Closer's been under the radar, putting up some really good numbers in some aspects of his game, but the issue is he struggles to put it all together consistently, and if he could just do that, he could take himself to the upper half of LCK mids, at least in our eyes. Stats-wise, he's already there, but in terms of opinion and public sentiment, I think he needs to just, close it out. 3rd AD carry, Viper from HLE. Viper, obviously an excellent player. 2nd in CS per minute at 10.5. 2nd in damage share at 30.1. 2nd in DPM, 650. Second in gold diff at 15 minutes, 181. CS 6, XP 240. So second best laner when it came to 80 carries. Obviously Viper Life being a duo. Only one other 80 carry was better in the first 15 minutes than Viper. Dealing a lot of damage, getting a lot of farm. Guy does work for HLE. It's undeniable. To have him not on the board would have been, a surprise. But the 80 carry role in the LCK is extremely deep. There are players that are left off this board that are going to upset people, and I don't think that was avoidable, to be honest. Like, pick 3, and then really, really, truly make a case without having any bias. I think that's really tough, especially utilizing numbers to back up your opinion. That is what it is. Support Keria. Now, Keria didn't do great. I said this in my roundup this morning. Well, yeah, I'm recording this yesterday. To you yesterday. Today, me. Keria hasn't done what I'd like him to do. I think he has definitely taken a step back this split. We'll see how that looks if they go to Worlds or going into spring. He has to put together a couple bad splits for me to really solidify it. But he's struggled. Third in DPM, 155. Third in wards cleared per minute, 0.38. Third in control wards placed at 1 every 3 minutes. So puts down a lot of control wards, but clears a good amount of wards, which not everybody can say. But the vision score really isn't there. Did deal a lot of damage, is aggressive, but KDA is not great, KP is not great. But we take these stats, and I'm saying they're not great, but everybody else also worse. Outside of 2 players. So Keria, third in the support role. Second in top lane, Dudu. And then this is where people are this is one of the surprises. Dudu being on this board is going to upset some people and ruffle some feathers. But Dudu, even last year with HLE, showed a 1v9 capability, and he continued to do that with KDF throughout this split. Bulldog obviously doing very well also. We can't take anything away from him. He played, a very admirable season. But Dudu is that top laner that I could see going to a very good LCK team next year, or even get snatched up by the LPL and play at a high level. He is world class, I believe. He was first in CS per minute amongst tops, 8.9. Second in KP at 59%. Second in damage share at 24.5% of the Freak's damage. Second in DPM amongst top laners at 523. On average, he was up 164 gold, which was third. First in CS diff with 8 CS. And second in solo kills with 13 amongst top laners. So I feel like Dudu definitely, I know we talked about it on the Discord specifically about top lane last week or even within the past week. And the first couple, I think people had a real good idea of. And then it was the third one. Who was the third one? And a lot of people thought Dudu. So I think the only thing people would be upset by is probably swapping these. But Dudu over the stats grades out better. So it is what it is. Second in the jungle, Canyon. So Canyon, despite looking sus, actually put together a pretty good split stats-wise. Second in KDA, 4.2. Second in CS per minute, 6.2. Third in gold per minute, 355. So CS leading to gold. Third in DPM, 329. On average, at 15 minutes, he had more gold than the enemy jungler. First at 310, so on average up 300 gold. Third, CSD, 5. Second, XP, 252. So he was ahead of his opponents more often than not, and also had 4 solo kills. So despite Canyon not really doing as much as we would like, he had a pretty good split. It's not at the best jungler in the world level, which is the issue, but he did do very well stats-wise. There's no doubt about it. The way not many other junglers were ahead of him at 15 minutes, right? So, that's kind of the deal. Second mid, Zeka of HLE. Mid lane, similar to bot lane, is very deep. A lot of people are going to be upset by this guy being in there. And probably about this, because there is a facilitator that doesn't end up on this board that people are going to be upset by. But facilitators aren't on the... I mean, facilitators don't grade out stats-wise very well. So, Zeka, third in KDA, 5.2. Third in CS per minute at 9.4. First in gold per minute, 436. Second in gold diff at 15 minutes. On average, was up 209. Third in XP, 113. So one of the better laners. But gets fed, gets a lot of CS and gold, doesn't die, and first in solo kills with 10. So Zeka, very good laner. Obviously on his signature champions, he is very, very good. That's without a doubt. Obviously Silas, Akali, things like that really stick out to people. Yone. But, you know, the Worlds letdown is there. We'll see if they can go to Worlds again. Obviously paired with him, that is a real scary predicament for the opposition. Second in bot lane, Gumayushi. So, similar to Keria, Guma, I feel like leaves a lot to be desired. I felt like he didn't take over when Faker was out. Like, Guma needed to do that. But the stats say something different. He had more CS than anybody else in the bot lane at 10.7. Third in gold per minute, 475. Higher KP than anybody else at 73.5. On average, he was third in gold diff at 144. And first in CS diff, up 7. So, one of the better laning duos, Guma and Keria, by 15 minutes in terms of getting ahead. Got fed, but didn't deal a lot of damage. You know, it is what it is, where, you know, there are going to be some 80 carries, not on this board. It'll be like, but they did a lot, and it's like, well, really, the stats say they didn't. I mean, it was close. I'm not going to say it's not close. There's a reason why I only named a few different stats, right? That's how many stats there appeared in the top 3, but that also got them here, where we're going over Canyon. I pretty much went over every stat there was. That just goes to show you, first and second, we're first and second in literally pretty much all the categories. And that's kind of the deal. Like, that just shows how dominant that player was in the role. Second, Kellen. Despite being benched by D+, Kellen had a pretty good split. He was second in KDA, 5.5, first in KP at 74.9, and first in DPM at 176 amongst supports for the LCK. Kellen, my Hall of Fame, I use a similar way to determine who an All-Pro would have been in the Hall of Fame points thing. And looking back at what my numbers say, for the last 4 splits, Kellen is the only support to appear as a top 3 support, which I think is interesting. He's put together a good couple of years here and a few splits, and maybe it is time for me to even come around on the fact that he is one of the better supports in the world. I think that is somewhere I have lacked, you know, healthy respect for him. Now, first in top lane, Doran. This is not a shock. Doran, Gen G played away this year, and especially in summer, where Doran was given a lot more resources, a lot more jungle proximity from Peanut, and that benefited him. Second in KDA at 3.9. First in gold per minute, 426. First in damage per minute, 536. So got more gold than any top laner, dealt more damage than any top laner. On average at 15 minutes, he was up 379 gold, which was first, and 148 XP, which was third. He had more solo kills than any other top laner with 19, and I think that might have been more than any player in any role. So Doran had a very good split. He ends up as the first top laner. Top mid laner, Peanut. Mid laner. Jungler, Peanut. First in KDA at 6.5. First in CS per minute, 6.3. That shocked me. Peanut, more of a facilitator. He out-farmed every other jungler in the LCK, which resulted in more gold per minute, 370. Second in damage share, 15%. Second in DPM, 332, so just one less than owner. I mean, he pretty much led the LCK in damage, in farm, in gold. Second in gold diff at 15 minutes, up 300. CS diff 6, which was first. First in XP, 269. Had 3 solo kills, which was tied for third. But Peanut dominant in a lot of different categories. Like I just said a couple minutes ago, Peanut and Canyon set the pace in the jungle stats-wise. And you know, it feels like any other split for the last how many years, right? That they are looking good stats-wise, and obviously Peanut record-wise having a good split. So 3 players end up tied in terms of aggregate for MVP voting, MVP determination based on stats. Peanut was one. Chovy is another. So the way I determine who got it, I think could be surmised based on the way I have historically said most valuable player to me is not the most valuable player on the best team, but the most valuable player to their specific team that also happened to do decent. And in this case, did very well. But Chovy, first in mid. Second in KDA, 7. So KDA, an even 7. Second in CS per minute, 9.5. Gold per minute, 431, also second. First in KP, 70.7. That is not a shock to me. Chovy played a very heavy facilitator role, but still found a way to deal a lot of damage. Second in DPM, 611. First in gold diff, so the first 15 minutes, once again, still setting the pace in laning. 369 gold, 9 CS, 233 XP. That led all mid laners in every category that I just listed. So he was setting the pace in lane despite not really getting the flashy KDA kills-wise, the big kill numbers, the big damage share numbers, but still dealt a lot of damage because his team's really good. Got a lot of didn't die much. Set the pace in lane. Second in solo kills with 9. He and Peanut were actually tied in terms of whether to give them MVP or not. Where when I did the LCS one earlier, Blabber like gapped everybody. Like it was Blabber, then I think it was Blabber, then River, then Summit. Where this case, it's actually, these guys do not have as high of a thing. Like Blabber, I think got like a 16 or something. Lower number is good. These guys got 28 because it's relative to the region. And the LCK is obviously more competitive. Bot lane, aiming. So aiming is the number 180 carry. People are going to say, where the hell is Pays? I know, 3 pentakills is sexy. I'm not going to lie. Just 3 pentakills on the Rift looks very good. But it's just, it is what it is, right? We see those numbers, we're like, oh my god, penta. Like, oh my god. Like, it is what it is. First in KDA, 9.1. Second in CS per minute, 10.5. First in gold per minute, 508. Second in KP, 73.4. Third in damage share, 29.6%. First in gold diff at 15 minutes, up 562. Second in CS, 6. XP, first, 352. So setting the pace in lane, dealing a lot of damage, not dying, getting fed, involved. Aiming did it all for KT. And, you know, a lot of people are going to say BDD also did very well. Keen did very well. Well, relative to their roles, Aiming was the best of the 3. And that's the third person that was tied for the MVP. So, I mean, I don't... For people that skipped to the end and, you know, didn't take their medicine or something today, Aiming is the MVP. Which actually is something because I think last year I had him in high regard alongside Prince for MVP. But Pays in depth. Like Pays did, I mean, like the category of pentakills is just a number that's like the number, right? That's, like I said, it's a sexy number to look at. You're like, oh my god, look, pentakills. Like that is like the pop-off moment. That's the highlights. Pays has done fabulous. I'm not saying he isn't one of the best AD carries already in the world because he is performing like it. He's doing great. But LCK also is very deep in 80 carry, so it is what it is. And first, support Cal from Live Sandbox. So this has a lot to do with vision. Despite Live Sandbox not being very good, Cal was first in vision score per minute at 3.35, and that's probably because he placed more wards than anybody else, on average 9 every 5 minutes. Second in wards cleared per minute, would clear 2 every 5 minutes, and placed more control wards than anybody else, over 1 every other minute, almost 3 every 5 minutes. So Cal very active in the vision game, more so than anybody else, which outweighed in the aggregate, where all stats are created equally. You know, more than Kellen and Carria. And Cal I do have in high regard, I won't lie. I think he's a very talented young support. So he's on there, and that's probably he, and probably this, and this is the biggest shocker, but then this too. You know, but that's where what the stats say, right? If I, you know, not everybody can have, like I said when this started, if you don't view the series of Nongshim and KDF the same way as Gen G versus T1, or in this case Gen G versus KT, if you don't see these give these players the equal ample opportunity, then it's like you are automatically condemning that player. So it's like that player could do great, and you're going to say, oh wow, look how great he did, but like you don't have a healthy, I just don't think there's a healthy respect for the players in that way, and that's why I use stats, because that eliminates that. So that's it for the LCK Pro video. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, like it, subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter. Hope to see you again tomorrow.